The Las Vegas Raiders are standing at one of those moments that can completely change the direction of a season. You can almost feel the energy building as training camp gets ready to begin. There's excitement, there are questions, and honestly, there's a lot riding on what happens over these next few weeks. Raider Nation has been waiting for real reasons to believe, and now it finally feels like something important is happening behind the scenes. We've actually got two Raider stories to break down. The first one could shape the future of this franchise for years to come, while the second one could spark a serious debate across Raider Nation about whether bringing in another veteran star is the right move. Both stories have fans talking, and both could have a real impact on this team heading into the season. So stick around, because we're going through everything together, and I honestly think both of these conversations are going to get people fired up. Before we jump in, if you're a real member of Raider Nation, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and join us. I'm Victor, and this is Raiders Nation Update. We're still a brand new channel with our first goal of reaching 5,000 subscribers, and I'd love for the fans who truly believe in the silver and black to be here from the very beginning. Let's build this community together. Fernando Mendoza is officially under contract, and Raider Nation, this is the news we've all been waiting for. The Las Vegas Raiders have signed the #1 overall pick in the draft to a 4-year contract worth $57.27 million. And just like every other first-round rookie deal, it also includes the team's 5th-year option. That means the Raiders now have long-term control over one of the most important players they've drafted in years. One thing that really stood out to me is the timing. Mendoza was the final member of the Raiders' 10-player draft class to sign, so now there are no distractions, no contract questions, no holdout concerns. Everyone can focus 100% on football as training camp gets underway. And I loved hearing Fernando Mendoza's first reaction after signing. He kept it simple, but you could hear the excitement in his voice. He said he was excited to get everything signed, excited to be part of the silver and black, and that he couldn't wait to get started. That's exactly the attitude you want from the face of your franchise. No drama, just ready to work. During organized team activities and minicamp, Mendoza worked with the third-team offense. That wasn't a surprise. Rookie quarterbacks almost always begin lower on the depth chart while they learn the system. But nobody expects him to stay there for very long. Training camp officially begins this week, and this is where all eyes are going to be on Fernando Mendoza. Every throw, every practice, every preseason snap is going to be analyzed because everyone wants to know one thing. How quickly can he become the Raiders' starting quarterback? Right now, veteran Kirk Cousins enters camp as the #1 quarterback after signing with Las Vegas on a free agent deal that includes $20 million guaranteed. Cousins brings experience, leadership, and stability. He's seen everything the NFL can throw at a quarterback, and there's real value in having someone like him guiding a rookie. But let's be honest with ourselves as Raiders fans. The biggest storyline of this training camp isn't whether Kirk Cousins can still play. It's how long he keeps that starting job. Fernando Mendoza wasn't drafted first overall to spend years holding a clipboard. The Raiders selected him because they believe he can become the future of this franchise. Whether that future starts in week 1, halfway through the season, or later, that's going to depend on how quickly he develops over the next several weeks. And if you followed his college career, there's every reason to believe he'll push for that opportunity sooner rather than later. Mendoza is coming off an unbelievable final season at Indiana, where he captured the Heisman Trophy and led the Hoosiers to their first national championship. That's not just impressive, that's historic. Winning games is one thing. Changing the history of an entire program is something completely different. Of course, college success doesn't automatically translate to the NFL. The speed is different, the defenses are smarter, the pressure is higher. But the confidence, leadership, and poise he showed at Indiana are exactly the qualities the Raiders hope carry over to the professional level. While all of that was happening, another massive Raiders update came from one of the biggest leaders on this football team. Max Crosby gave Raider Nation some fantastic news on his podcast, The Rush, where he told co-host Brogan Roback that he'll be reporting to training camp with the rookies and expects to be on the practice field from day one. That is huge, considering everything Crosby has gone through over the past several months. He revealed that after surgery to repair the torn meniscus in his left knee, he couldn't even walk for 2 months. Think about that for a second. One of the toughest players in football couldn't walk, then spent months rehabbing at the Raiders facility in Henderson just trying to get back to doing what he loves. Now he's saying he'll be practicing without physical restrictions. Those were incredible words for Raiders fans to hear. At the same time, Crosby also made it clear that the coaching staff has a smart plan in place. He expects his workload to be slightly limited early in camp as they gradually build him back up instead of throwing him into full-speed practices immediately. Honestly, that's exactly what they should do. The Raiders need Max Crosby healthy for the regular season, not winning training camp headlines. Listening to him talk, you could hear just how emotional this comeback has been. He said he's finally back doing change of direction drills, feeling like himself again, and believes he's returning as the best version of himself. After missing organized team activities and minicamp, he admitted he felt like a sad puppy watching from the sidelines while everyone else practiced. Now he's thrilled to get an early start alongside the rookies, and if you've followed Max Crosby over the years, none of this is surprising. This is a player who spent more than half of the 2025 season playing through a torn meniscus. Even while dealing with that injury, he still earned his 5th straight Pro Bowl selection, finished with 10 sacks, and recorded 28 tackles for loss. That's the kind of toughness that has made him one of the emotional leaders of this franchise. He also briefly acknowledged what he called the chaos and adversity he experienced during the offseason. We all remember one of the biggest stories from earlier this year. The Raiders had agreed to trade Crosby to the Baltimore Ravens in exchange for 2 first-round draft picks, but Baltimore ultimately backed out after concerns that surfaced during his physical examination. Instead of leaving Las Vegas, Crosby stayed, attacked his rehabilitation, and now sounds more motivated than ever. Personally, hearing him talk made me even more excited about this defense. A healthy Max Crosby changes everything. He raises the level of everyone around him, and if he's truly back to feeling like himself, that's a massive boost for this football team heading into the season. Now let's move to our second story because this one is guaranteed to divide Raider Nation. Future Pro Football Hall of Fame pass rusher Von Miller recently appeared on a podcast with Max Crosby and openly discussed potential destinations for the next chapter of his career. During that conversation, Miller mentioned several teams, but one stood out to Raiders fans. He made it very clear that signing with the Las Vegas Raiders is something he would absolutely consider. Even more interesting, Max Crosby seemed completely on board with the idea. So the question becomes, should the Raiders actually do it? Von Miller is now 37 years old and entering what would be his 16th NFL season. Obviously, he's no longer the dominant every down defender he was during his prime. Nobody expects that. But here's the part that makes this conversation interesting. Last season with the Washington Commanders, Miller still recorded 9 sacks, which was actually his highest sack total since 2021. That tells you there's still something left in the tank. The reality is the Raiders don't desperately need another edge rusher. With Max Crosby healthy and younger players continuing to develop, the position isn't exactly a weakness. If Miller came to Las Vegas, he'd almost certainly be a rotational player rather than a full-time starter. So now the front office has a real decision to make. Do you offer a veteran future Hall of Famer a reasonable 1-year contract because he can still pressure quarterbacks, mentor younger pass rushers, and add valuable playoff experience to the locker room? Or do you pass on that opportunity and instead use those snaps to continue developing the younger players who could become part of the Raiders' long-term future? I honestly think there are good arguments on both sides. If the contract is affordable and Von Miller understands exactly what his role would be, I can absolutely see the value. Championship teams often rely on experienced veterans who can contribute in specific situations, especially on obvious passing downs. But if signing him starts taking meaningful development opportunities away from younger edge rushers the Raiders are trying to build around, then the coaching staff has to think carefully before making that move. This is one of those decisions that isn't as simple as looking at a player's name. It's about balancing experience with development and figuring out what gives this team the best chance to compete now while still building for the future. When you put both of today's stories together, I think they tell us a lot about where this franchise is heading. On one side, you have Fernando Mendoza, the #1 overall pick, officially under contract and ready to begin the next chapter of his career. This organization has made a massive investment in him, and now the focus shifts from paperwork to performance. Every practice, every preseason game, and every opportunity he gets will bring him one step closer to proving that the Raiders made the right decision by making him the face of their future. At the same time, having Kirk Cousins in the building creates exactly the kind of quarterback situation you want. Mendoza doesn't have to be rushed before he's ready, but he also knows the opportunity is there if he earns it. That competition is only going to make everyone better, and honestly, that's something Raider Nation should be excited about. Then on the defensive side, hearing Max Crosby say he'll be back on the field from day one of training camp might be just as encouraging as the Mendoza signing. This defense looks completely different when number 98 is healthy. His leadership, his intensity, and the way he sets the tone for everyone around him simply can't be replaced. And when you add the conversation surrounding Von Miller, it shows that people around the league are starting to view Las Vegas as an attractive destination again. Whether the Raiders actually sign him or not, the fact that a future Hall of Famer is openly interested in joining this team says something about where this organization is headed. Personally, I don't think the front office should sign Miller just because of his name. If they believe he can still consistently impact games, mentor the younger pass rushers, and accept a rotational role on a team-friendly one-year deal, then it's definitely worth considering. But if it means slowing down the development of the younger players without providing a significant upgrade, then I'd be perfectly fine with letting the current group continue to grow. One thing is certain, though. Training camp just became a whole lot more exciting. We're about to watch the biggest quarterback battle this franchise has had in years. We're about to see whether Fernando Mendoza can start closing the gap on Kirk Cousins sooner than expected. We're about to find out how explosive Max Crosby looks after months of rehab. And we may not even be done with roster moves if the Raiders decide to explore adding another veteran like Von Miller. These next few weeks could shape the entire season. As Raiders fans, we've been through plenty of rebuilding years, disappointing seasons, and moments where hope disappeared way too quickly. But this feels different. There's a real sense that this team is laying the foundation for something bigger. The young talent is arriving, proven veterans are in place, and the expectations inside the building are clearly growing. Now it's time for the players to prove it on the field. What do you think, Raider Nation? Do you think Fernando Mendoza has a real chance to take the starting job from Kirk Cousins during the season, or should the Raiders be patient with his development? And what about Von Miller? Would you sign him to a one-year deal, or would you rather see the younger pass rushers get those snaps? I really want to hear your thoughts, so drop your opinions down in the comments because I know this community is going to have some strong takes on both of these topics. If you enjoyed today's update, don't forget to hit that like button because it really helps the channel grow. And if you're a true member of Raider Nation and believe this team is finally moving in the right direction, subscribe to Raiders Nation Update. We're still a brand new channel with our first goal of reaching 5,000 subscribers, and it would mean a lot to have you with us from the very beginning as we build this community of passionate Raiders fans. Thank you so much for watching, thank you for being part of Raider Nation, and I'll see you in the next video. Just win, baby.